All right, let's get right into it. We've all been there, right? You ask an AI a question, you're expecting some kind of genius-level answer, and what you get back is, well, less than brilliant. It turns out the real secret to unlocking what these large language models can do isn't just about what you ask, it's all about how you ask. So today, we're going to dive into the art and science of prompt engineering so you can start getting much better, way more reliable answers from AI.
So let's kick things off with a classic little logic puzzle you might throw at an AI. It seems pretty straightforward. When I was 3, my partner was 3 times older than me. Okay, so now I'm 20. How old is my partner? Seems simple enough for a super powerful AI, doesn't it? So what does it tell us?
The AI comes back with 60 years old. Yeah, that's not right. At all. The model just took 20 and multiplied it by 3. It totally missed the entire point about the age difference that was set up in the first sentence. This right here is the exact problem we're going to solve today. How do we get the AI to stop making these simple but super frustrating mistakes?
So why does a super smart AI get such a basic question wrong? Well, the answer gets into something experts call the black box problem. See, we're dealing with these unbelievably complex systems, but how they actually work on the inside is kind of hidden from us. This makes them incredibly powerful, but also surprisingly unreliable if you don't give them the right guidance.
You know, the whole black box idea is just perfect here. We see the inputs, that's our prompts, and we see the outputs, the AI's answers. But that whole process in the middle, the thinking, is a complete mystery. And that's what leads to those unpredictable, sometimes just plain wrong results. It feels like you're just, rolling the dice every time you ask a question.
But what if we could give that black box better instructions? What if, instead of just crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, we could actually guide it toward the right answer? Well, that's exactly what this is all about. Welcome to the art of the prompt.
So this whole thing has a name, of course. It's called prompt engineering. And look, this is not just for tech wizards and machine learning experts. At its heart, it's really just about being a better communicator. It's all about crafting and tweaking your instructions to guide the model to the exact output you're looking for.
And what's really cool is there's a technical reason why this works so well. The transformer architecture, that's the engine behind most of these models, uses this thing called an attention mechanism. Basically, it carefully weighs the importance of every single word in your prompt and how it relates to all the other words. Because of this attention, every word you choose, every bit of structure you add, directly changes the final result. It just goes to show when you're talking to an AI, your words don't just matter, they are everything. Okay, enough theory. We get the what and the why. Now let's get practical. It's time to build your own personal prompting toolkit. I'm going to walk you through a few simple, powerful principles you can start using right now to get way better results.
Rule number 1, and honestly, the most important one. Be crystal clear and super specific. You cannot make the AI guess what you want. A great trick is to use delimiters. Things like triple backticks or hashtags to separate your instructions from your content. Keep your language simple and direct. And hey, if you want a specific output, like a list of 3 bullet points or a 100-word paragraph, just ask for it.
I mean, just look at the difference here. It is night and day. The before prompt is kind of rambling, how we might normally talk. But to an AI, it's vague. What are great locations? The after prompt, though, is a perfect set of instructions. It clearly states the context, 2 3-year-old kids, and specifies the output, exactly 3 family-friendly locations. That kind of precision is what gets you a useful answer instead of a generic one. All right, let's move on to our next tool, and this one is actually pretty fun. Give the model a role to play. This is an incredibly powerful technique. By telling the AI who to be, like act as a travel guide, or you're a professional resume editor, or even you're a sarcastic comedian, you help it lock into a specific tone, style, and even a particular knowledge base. It totally shapes the response. For example, instead of just asking about museums, you start with act as a travel guide. That one little instruction primes the model to give you way more descriptive, helpful, curated info, just like a real guide would. And see how we also specified the format, top 3, and the action, describe each one. Every single part of this prompt is working together to get a better result. Okay, our third technique is something called few-shot prompting, which is really just a fancy way of saying, provide examples. If you need a response in a super specific format, seriously, the best way to get it is to just show the model exactly what you want. It's like teaching by showing, not just by telling.
This pizza order is a perfect example. We give the model a clear instruction, parse this order into JSON. But then we give it one perfect example.
the regular sentence, and then the exact JSON structure we want back. Now the AI knows the pattern. You can give it any new pizza order and it'll give it back to you in that precise format. This is an absolute lifesaver for developers or anyone trying to turn messy human language into clean, structured data for an app or a database. So, those first 3 tips are amazing for getting well-structured, relevant answers. But what about getting the right answer to a problem that actually requires logic? Let's switch gears to a more advanced technique and see how we can actually make the model, well, think.
Which brings us all the way back to our original math problem. How do we fix the AI's terrible math? We know the answer isn't 60. So how can we use what we've just learned to guide the AI to the correct solution? It turns out the solution is almost so simple it's funny. All we have to do is add 4 little words to our prompt. Let's think step by step. This isn't some kind of magic spell. It's a command that literally forces the model to slow down and use more of its computational power on the problem. It starts to mimic a human reasoning process instead of just jumping to a fast but totally wrong conclusion.
And look at what happens. The model doesn't just spit out the answer. It shows its work. It walks through the logic. First, it figures out the partner was 9. Then it correctly calculates the age difference is 6 years. Finally, it applies that constant difference to the current age of 20 and, boom, it arrives at the correct answer, 26.
This incredible method has a name. It's called chain of thought prompting. By simply encouraging the model to produce that series of intermediate steps, it can suddenly tackle much harder problems that require real logic and reasoning. This trick dramatically improves its performance on everything from math problems to common sense puzzles. It's a game changer.
So where is all of this headed? As you can probably tell, these prompting skills are way more than just clever tricks. They're really the building blocks for how we're all going to interact with AI in the future. We're moving away from just barking commands at a machine and moving towards having a genuine, collaborative conversation.
And in fact, these techniques are already evolving. We're starting to see these new systems that use something called react prompting. That stands for reason and act. It combines that chain of thought reasoning we just saw with the ability to actually take actions, like using a tool to search the web for up-to-the-minute information. This is how AI is starting to break out of the box and interact with the real world.
All right, so to wrap this all up, what are the big things to remember? Next time you sit down with an AI, be super clear and specific. Give it context, assign it a role, show it some examples. If you've got a tricky problem, tell it to think step by step. And most importantly, remember that this is a process. Don't be afraid to experiment, tweak your prompts, and try again until you get that perfect answer.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. As these AI tools become as common as search engines or smartphones, is learning how to have a really effective conversation with them, mastering this art of the prompt, is that becoming the next essential form of literacy for all of us? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.